Ooh,
I want to read through the whole Bible this year. What is your advice on how to approach it? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I think you already, I know, have been kind of putting pieces in place to
Yeah.
help people do this. So
Yes.
just shout out, they need to tune in the new year
Yeah.
for
Yeah. Yeah.
the first 15 weeks of the season, because you've
You've
got
been listening. You've been out
up
here
through
listening.
Easter.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So this is a great question. We're doing a series at One Church, 15 weeks, and we're calling it Cover to Cover. So we're looking at the Bible. It's been I started working on it kind of in the middle of last year, because the Bible is certainly a complicated book, right? It's a very unique book, really unique. 66 books written over about 1,500 years on multiple continents, multiple literary styles, different genres, different authors, and yet it carries this meta narrative, this storyline that kind of pulls it all together, right? So it's almost like the story of Shaylyn. Your whole life, you could tell your story in a paragraph. That would be the meta narrative. But then there's been a bazillion little stories that all play within that, and you can take them apart one at a time and look at them on their own. But you got to kind of know how that fits into the overall story of Shaylin. So the Bible's kind of built that way, right?
That's a good description.
So that's kind of what I want to do. What I'm going to do my best to do over those 15 weeks with our church, so that people can understand that, and then know how to sort of dig into it. So would encourage you, if you don't usually tune in, it might be worth it from that perspective. It was a great exercise for me, because I'm like, wow, 15 weeks feels like a long time, but it's really not when you're take that kind of undertaking. Okay, let me throw this thought. I don't want to dampen anyone's spirit around reading the whole Bible or reading the Bible and understanding it. Like, I love the Bible, and it's God's word. It's amazing. So anything I can do to fan the flame of someone reading it, I want to do. I would, if I was sitting down with this person, I probably would ask a bunch of questions and try to listen. Like, what are you hoping to accomplish by doing this? Like, because kind of seeing where they're starting from. I think the goal for a lot of people in reading it through is, hey, I want to take this book, this huge book, because I think it's important. And in this year process, I want to put all of it into my mind. I want to understand it completely. And I think there's been a lot of people who have read the Bible cover to cover, some who have done it more than once, that still don't really understand it very well. So I think it's going to be like, how are you approaching it? And then also, I think the idea of trying to fit the whole Bible into your brain is probably not going to happen. So I got to actually look this up real quick. It's a quote from N.T. Wright, who is a great thinker, theologian of our time. I think he's like our generation's C.S. Lewis, which is high praise for me, because I think C.S. Lewis is amazing. Okay, so here's a quote from N.T. Wright in his book, The Gospel of John. He wrote, I don't know that any of us will ever be able to hold all this in our minds at any one time. That's part of the point. You can no more read this story at one level only than you can plant a garden in a cup of coffee. I'm gonna read that again. I don't know that any of us will ever be able to hold all this in our minds at any one time. That's part of the point. You can no more read this story at one level only than you can plant a garden in a coffee cup. The only way forward is to allow all the different ideas and levels, the clashes of meaning and misunderstanding, echo around until they produce prayer, awe, silence, and love.
Wow.
So I think to go,
So
hey, I'm
good.
going to read the Bible this year, cover to cover, and I'm going to master it. And okay, cool, check. Now I know it all.
Yeah.
I just think, like, just make sure that's not your starting point, because that's not going to happen. And I think sometimes, again, even it seems like a year, if you did 365 days, didn't miss a day, it's like, yeah, okay. Like, there's bunch of those reading plans out there. I've done them
I was
myself.
going to say, I did one in high school
Yeah.
and read through the entire Bible in a year. And
It's still a ton.
it's still
It's
a
a
ton.
ton.
And I will say your absorption is just not the same. There's so much that ends up becoming just a matter of discipline,
Yeah.
of sitting there and reading it. And you look up and you're like, I just went through all those chapters. I'm not really sure what I was supposed to get from that.
You might be better off to take a step back and to go, hey, I want to understand, again, some of this like cover to cover stuff that I started talking about. I don't want to be redundant, but to really understand the Bible and what it is,
Yeah.
and maybe how to read it.
Yeah.
And again, you can watch a lot of stuff at the Bible Project. We mentioned some of those resources. Here's another one. This is big, and I'm going to say this throughout the cover to cover series a lot. Get a good study Bible, and I recommended
That's huge.
in one of our previous episodes a really good study Bible is one of the best. It's the best one I've ever seen. Again, I get no kickback from it. This is really just paying it forward. But getting a good study Bible, understanding historical, cultural, like they will explain so much to you. So going, how do I want to approach it, and focusing there and learning maybe some more about the Bible before you just tear into books of the Bible and then start going, what does that mean? You might end up
Accidentally
getting
drawing
better.
wrong conclusions.
Yeah. You probably end up getting a better return on that investment of time, energy, and focus
Yeah.
to take a step back and to do that.
I will say one thing I think is a sad side effect sometimes that I've seen, and I know for myself as a stupid high school student, like that I experienced to some degree. But, it's like you read through the whole Bible, you're like, I know there were entire swaths of this that I just did not fully comprehend. But you kind of walk away feeling a little superior because I read the whole Bible in a year. And it's like, wow, what a loss. I mean, talk about ultimate forest for the trees moment, right? Like that you felt proud of yourself that you read through the Bible in a year and you didn't get the point,
It could be a false positive,
It could
right?
be
Like,
a massive false positive.
Like I don't mean to be disrespectful or condescending or anything. I am absolutely a work in progress myself. I'm learning all the time new things and things I believed or thought that were wrong and all this. But I've had a lot of people over the years who I've talked to who have claimed, yeah, I've read the Bible cover to cover. And some say, I've read it cover to cover, and they have a specific number of times. I read it cover to cover 9 times. And then I hear them talk about it, and I'm like,
you read it, but I don't
yeah,
think you absorbed it.
you didn't think deeply enough about that.
Right.
If I have this goal I have to hit, and so I'm going to have to read, 3 chapters a day or, all the stuff you're doing, do you have time? Are you taking the right pace?
Yeah.
That you go and you come across something and you're like, I don't have time to dig into that. I got to finish my day's reading.
Right.
So I just go flying past it. And it's like, no, that was actually
You
the
could
whole
miss a
point
lot.
right there. You went right over the point. So I think in some ways, like if you think almost taking what we just talked about, the physical health thing, almost as a metaphor, if you were really ambitious to want to get in physical shape, but you didn't take any time to study smart ways to do fitness.
Sure.
So
you
you're
could
just
crash
all of a
diet,
sudden,
lose 30 pounds,
you-
and be in worse health.
or you crash diet, or you just go, hey, I'm just going to start running.
Yeah.
I'm going to run a marathon. Well, dude, that's fine. That may or may not be the thing that's going to get you into
Better health.
your better physical health, right? So taking some time to learn about nutrition, to learn about exercise physiology, to ask some good
to
questions.
learn about your own body and your own
Exactly.
blood work and what you
Now
are missing. And
you're efficiently
There's a lot
getting
there.
healthy versus the other. So I think in a similar way with the Bible, love the ambition. I love the desire. I love the hunger and thirst. That's wonderful. Take a little step back and make sure you're approaching it the right way. And I would say, don't feel necessarily this like
pressure.
I'm going to be making God more proud if I read all the way through the whole Bible.
Yeah.
Like, when as you kind of learn more about it, you might not even feel a need to do that right away, right? You might start, digging into different areas.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents. And again, if
think
you
it's
feel
great.
led to do it, by all means, go to the Bible app. Has a ton of reading plans. It'll ding right up on your phone. You can practical things. You can redeem your drive time. If you drive, you can listen to it. You can do all that. I saw one, I think it was in the podcast app or whatever, but it was like a Bible reading plan. And then it was like a podcast you can listen to that does
like unpacks it.
That
Basically.
like talks about
That's
it.
great.
And I listened to a
Yeah.
few of the episodes. A few of them I didn't love, but they weren't. It's certainly better than not doing it. But all that to say, yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Love it.
We just got dinged.